Hi, welcome to Watchman's Whole Word Bible Study with me, Donovan, and we are in the book of Genesis. We're moving forward now to Genesis chapter 24. We have just said goodbye to Sarah after 127 long years. Is Abraham's sister first, and then his wife later. She spent many years as his wife. She has now gone to her glory, and she's been buried in a tomb in the land of the Hittites. And now Abraham and his son Isaac have said their goodbyes, and we move on now to find out what has become of Isaac, who at this point is around 40 years old. So let's see what happens here. And this is a rather long chapter, so we're going to jump right into it. It tells us in verse 1, "Now Abraham was old, well advanced in years, and the Lord had blessed Abraham in all things. And Abraham said to his servant, the oldest of his household, who had charge of all that he had, Put your hand under my thigh, that I may make you swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and God of earth, that you will not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I dwell, but will go to my country and to my kindred, and take a wife for my son Isaac." So Abraham knows the kind of people who are living in Canaan. He knows that they are a godless, polytheistic, violent group of individuals. And he also knows that his brother Nahor has a large family, that he's been fruitful back in the land of Haran, where they had settled before Abraham was called by God. So he wants for Isaac to have a wife who is back from his family and is from his own people and not from the Canaanites. So he has his servant swear this oath, and the way you promise in this day is that you would place your hand under the thigh of the person who you were promising to, and that would make your word binding. Verse 5, "The servant said to him, Perhaps the woman will not be willing to follow me to this land. Must I then take your son back to the land from which you came? Abraham said to him, See to it that you do not take my son back there. The Lord, the God of heaven, who took me from my father's house and from the land of my kindred, and who spoke to me and swore to me, To your offspring I will give this land, he will send his angel before you, and you shall take a wife for my son from there. But if the woman is not willing to follow you, then you will be free from this oath of mine. Only you must not take my son back there." So the servant put his hand under the thigh of Abraham, his master, and swore to him concerning this matter. Then the servant took 10 of his master's camels and departed, taking all sorts of choice gifts from his master, and he arose and went to Mesopotamia to the city of Nahor. And he made the camels kneel down outside the city by the well of water at the time of evening, the time when women go out to draw water. And he said, O Lord, God of my master Abraham, please grant me success today and show steadfast love to my master Abraham. So you can see that Abraham has done a good job in getting his household to give up idolatry and to worship only the one true living God. And that was probably quite an accomplishment on his part, because these people are taken from all these pagan lands like Egypt, from and he's gathered all these people over these years. And then there's new ones being born in his household. He has a large household, so they're being born all the time, and then they're surrounded by pagans. So he's done a good job here. Verse 13, "Behold, I am standing by the spring water, and the daughters of the men of the city are coming out to draw water. Let the young woman to whom I shall say, Please let down your jar, that I may drink, and who shall say, Drink, and I will draw water for your camels, let her be the one whom you have appointed for your servant Isaac. By this I shall know that you have shown steadfast love to my master." Before he had finished speaking, behold, Rebekah, who was born to Bethuel, the son of Milcah, the wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother, came out with her water jar on her shoulder. So, if I've done the math right, this would be Abraham's great niece, and this would be Isaac's second cousin. The young woman was very attractive in appearance, a maiden whom no man had known. Maiden here, the word in the Greek, is translated to virgin. And it's the same word that is used to describe in the New Testament Mary, the mother of Christ, virgin. So when you hear people say that it's maiden, that they didn't call Mary a virgin in the New Testament in the original transcripts, they called her a maiden, not a virgin. That is not true. The most common translation, the most accurate translation in both the Old and New Testament is virgin. And clearly they're saying here that Rebekah is a virgin, and clearly in the New Testament they are saying Mary is a virgin. She went down to the spring and filled her jar and came up. Then the servant ran to meet her and said, "Please give me a little water to drink from your jar." She said, "Drink, my lord." And she quickly let down her jar upon her hand and gave him a drink. When she had finished giving him a drink, she said, "I will draw water for your camels also, until they have finished drinking." So she quickly emptied her jar into the trough and ran again to the well to draw water, and she drew for all his camels. The men gazed at her in silence to learn whether the Lord had prospered his journey or not. So you see how God has already done this work. Indeed, God did go before Abraham's servant, and just as the servant had prayed, before his prayer had left his lips, God had already read his heart and has already responded to his prayer. Verse 22. When the camels had finished drinking, the man took a gold ring weighing half a shekel and 2 bracelets for her arms weighing 10 gold shekels, and said, "Please tell me whose daughter you are. Is there room in your father's house for us to spend the night?" She said to him, "I am the daughter of Bethuel, the son of Milcah, whom she bore to Nahor." She added, "We have plenty of both straw and fodder and room to spend the night." The man bowed his head and worshipped the Lord and said, "Blessed be the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who has not forsaken his steadfast love and his faithfulness toward my master. As for me, the Lord has led me in the way to the house of my master's kinsman." Then the young woman ran and told her mother's household about these things. Rebekah had a brother whose name was Laban. We're going to read a lot about Laban in the next few chapters. Laban ran out toward the man to the spring as soon as he saw the rings and the bracelet on his sister's arms and heard the words of Rebekah, his sister. So Laban, you can see here, is a money grubber. He is an enterprising individual. He worshipped lots of gods, but the chief among them is the dollar. He likes money. So as soon as he sees that his sister has encountered a rich foreigner who has already given her some very expensive gifts, he runs out. He wants to see if he can also profit off this individual. Thus the man spoke to me. He went to the man. Laban went to the man, and behold, he was standing with his camels by the spring. He said, "Come in, O blessed of the Lord. Why do you stand outside? For I have prepared the house and a place for the camels." So the man came to the house and unharnessed the camels and gave straw and fodder to the camels, and there was water to wash his feet and the feet of the man who were with him. Then food was set before him to eat, but he said, "I will not eat until I have said what I have to say." Laban said, "Speak on." So he said, "I am Abraham's servant. The Lord has greatly blessed my master, and he has become great. He has given him flocks and herds, silver and gold, male servants and female servants, camels and donkeys. And Sarah, my master's wife, bore a son to my master when she was old, and to him he has given all that he has. My master made me swear, saying, 'You shall not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, in whose land I dwell, but you shall go to my father's house and to my clan and take a wife for my son.' I said to my master, 'Perhaps the woman will not follow me.' But he said to me, 'The Lord, before whom I have walked, will send his angel with you and prosper your way. You shall take a wife for my son from my clan and from my father's house. Then you will be free from my oath when you come to my clan. And if they will not give her to you, you shall be free from my oath.'" So notice a couple things here. To God, Isaac is Abraham's only son. All the other sons, and we're going to read that Abraham doesn't just have Isaac, he has others. He doesn't just have Isaac and Ishmael, he has others. But only Isaac, in the eyes of God, is a legitimate son. All the other ones are sons who came in another way. And I think that's instructive for us because all of us have done things like had kids with people we weren't married to, slept with people who we weren't married to, slept with all. Who knows who their actual spouse is in heaven? And I think that's something that's interesting because in heaven you can only have one legitimate spouse, unless your spouse died, and God doesn't change. So that was his rule from the very beginning. And here we see God does not legitimize any of Isaac's offspring except for Isaac. And even when in the chapter where we saw the sacrifice of Isaac, God said, sacrifice your son, your only son. And Ishmael is 14 years older. So it's just interesting that in the sight of God, in heaven, in the record of God, only Isaac is legitimate. So I think that's interesting. Verse 42, I came today to a spring and said, O Lord, the God of my master Abraham, if now you are prospering the way that I go, behold, I am standing by the spring of water. Let the virgin, so to see, not maiden, virgin, let the virgin who comes out to draw water, to whom I shall say, please give me a little water from your jar to drink, and who will say to me, drink, and I will draw for your camels also, let her be the woman whom the Lord has appointed for my master's son. Before I had finished speaking in my heart, behold, Rebekah came out with her water jar on her shoulder, and she went down to the spring and drew water. I said to her, please let me drink. She quickly let down her jar from her shoulder and said, drink, and I will give to your camels drink also. So I drank, and she gave the camels drink also. Then I asked her, whose daughter are you? She said, the daughter of Bethuel, Nahor's son, whom Milcah bore to him. So I put the ring on her nose and the bracelets on her arms. So that's interesting, an interesting cultural difference. We wear our rings on our finger, and they wear them on their face. So that must have been interesting for her to have this stranger put a gold ring in her nose. Then I bowed my head and worshipped the Lord and blessed the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who had led me by the right way to take the daughter of my master's kinsman for his son. Now then, if you are going to show steadfast love and faithfulness to my master, tell me, and if not, tell me, that I may turn to the right hand or to the left. Then Laban and Bethuel answered and said, the thing has come from the Lord. We cannot speak to you bad or good. Behold, Rebekah is before you. Take her and go, and let her be the wife of your master's son, as the Lord has spoken. When Abraham's servant heard their words, he bowed himself to the earth before the Lord, and the servant brought out jewelry and silver and gold and garments and gave them to Rebekah. He also gave to her brother and to her mother costly ornaments. So he pays a dowry. He compensates them, their family, for the loss of a daughter. Notice here that one of the chores that young women do in the household is they draw water for the household and all the animals. So that's a loss for them. So this is one of the reasons why they have the dowry, is to pay for this kind of thing. They might have to go out and get a servant now to do this chore in the absence of Rebekah. He and the man who were with him ate and drank, and they spent the night there. When they arose in the morning, he said, send me away to my master. Her brother and her mother said, let the young woman remain with us a while, at least 10 days. After that she may go. But he said to them, do not delay me, since the Lord has prospered my way. Send me away, that I may go to my master. So he doesn't want to delay for 10 days, because remember, Abraham seems old, and he might be thinking, I might get back and Abraham might be dead and not be able to see this moment. But whatever reason, he doesn't want to stay. He doesn't want to delay. 10 days doesn't sound like a whole long time, but he doesn't want to delay. He wants to get going. They said, let us call the young woman and ask her. And they called Rebekah and said to her, will you go with this man? She said, I will go. So they sent away Rebekah, their sister, and her nurse, and Abraham's servant and his man, and they blessed Rebekah and said to her, our sister, may you become thousands of 10,000s, and may your offspring possess the gate of those who hate them. So here we see again, this looks to me like prophecy out of the mouths of these individuals. because that's precisely what happens to Rebekah. She does become the mother of thousands and thousands, and her offspring do possess the gates of those who hate them. Possess the gates mean to take the cities, and that's exactly what happens with Israel. Then Rebekah and her young women arose and rode on the camels and followed the man. Thus the servant took Rebekah and went his way. So you see, she has Nahor, her father. He's a wealthy man. So Rebekah, she has a nurse and she has servants. Now Isaac had returned from, this is going to be a hard one, Beer Lahai Roy, and was dwelling in the Negeb. And Isaac went out to meditate in the field toward evening. So he's out in the evening to pray. And he lifted up his eyes and saw, and behold, there were camels coming. And Rebekah lifted up her eyes, and when she saw Isaac, she dismounted from the camel and said to the servant, "Who is that man walking in the field to meet us?" The servant said, "It is my master." So she took her veil and covered herself. So you see the modesty. She doesn't want him to see her before the time of their wedding. And the servant told Isaac all the things that he had done. Then Isaac brought her into the tent. Isaac wastes no time here. He's a man's man. Isaac brought her into the tent of Sarah, his mother, and took Rebekah, and she became his wife, and he loved her. So Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. All right, so there you have it. That is Genesis chapter 24, the marriage of Isaac to his bride Rebekah. So, and it's going to be a long and fairly fruitful union that kind of gets off the rails because of our nature. So that's it for our Bible study today. We'll go into chapter 25 in the next study. So until then, please keep heeding the call and keep yourself in the love of Christ. Have a great night,